Hello and welcome to Create at Robin's House. Today I wanted to go over with you this cute little bug box. It's a treat box that's super simple. You can easily recreate again and again however you need. This exact treat box also has a little peekaboo, but it doesn't need to have a peekaboo when you recreate it for other uses. But I wanted to show you this one. And one of the important things to do when you're getting ready to make your little box is consider how big you need it to be. So this box, you can see it's 1 inch wide and it's 3 3/4 inch square. So those are important measurements to know when you are cutting for your box. So what you want to do is get your trimmer and one piece of paper. So since I have a 1 inch wide box, I'm going to make a 1 inch wide strip, and that will be for my handle. And the next steps, you will need a embossing tool. And so I have two different trimmers. I have this trimmer that I normally use when I cut, but this trimmer seems to have a really big groove in it, and I don't care for how it cuts, so I'm going to use my old trimmer when I am scoring. So the first thing I do is put my paper at 1 inch, because that's how big my my box is going to be. That's how wide it is, and I'll score. And then, like I said, my box is going to be this part. Can you see there? Yeah. This part is going to be 3 3/4 inches wide. So I'm going to go to this 3 3/4 and I'll put my previous score at 3 3/4 inches. And I'll score it again. And then I need to put it at 1 inch because I'm going to make the other side of my box. And then I'm going to cut this time, because I don't need this paper anymore. And then I'll go ahead and turn it, and now I'm scoring again. I want my 3 3/4 inch square box, and then I want it to be 1 inch wide, so I put the score at 1 inches, and then I want it to be 3 3/4 inch wide again. Making square boxes is so nice because all the measurements are the same. Now I'm all done with my trimmer. So the next thing you want to do is get it ready to fold. And the easiest part for me is when I'm cutting, I make a V shape so that both of my folds are not, I mean, you could cut it like this, but then I find that you end up with too much paper as you're folding it and trying to glue all the pieces together. So I like to make small V's in my edges. And then the next thing I could do before I actually fold this is I want to make this circle before it's in the shape of a box and already glued together, although it wouldn't be impossible. But I use my basic thin cuts, because I have a 2.5 inch thin cut in my basic circle set. If you don't have one, you could use your Pink Uchida. It's also 2.5 inches. And this one could physically happen while your box is done. You can slip it in there, but it will barely fit and it might hurt your little project. So anyway, we get that all ready. And then another thing that you could do while you still haven't put together your box is you could put in your acetate. Now there's two different ways to put in the acetate to get it ready. An easy way is if you just buy a sheet of acetate, and then you can just glue it down and cut it the size you want. You could also use our shaker card pieces, and that can fit on here as well. And you could make this into a very cute little shaker card at the same time as you're making it as a peekaboo box, and that would be just fine. So now we have our acetate in place, and we can build our little box. So just fold on your edges, and you always want to fold when you score. You want to fold so that you, I guess, fold away from the score, and that will make your paper less likely to tear as you're folding it. And then you make sure your little tiny flaps are always on the inside. And we're ready to do some glue. And then you want to also set it up so that the front of your project is always the one that seals with the open face at the back, so that you're open. That way when it's on the front, all your lines are clear and nice. And then as you're setting it down, just make sure that your top is flush. And then try to get it as close as you can to the edges, but lightly, so that when you press it down, it doesn't go oozing out. And then again, make sure your top edges are flush. We do have that white core paper, so if it bothers you, you can take some sponge and ink the edges with black so that it's all black, but if it's in the back side, it doesn't really matter to me. Okay, now you're ready to put in your little handle. And so I like it to be nice and strong, so I've got 1.5 inches or 2 inches here. And insert that on the inside. Press it down. And then determine how much I want on this side. It looks like another 1.5 inches, 2 inches is good. Okay, and then we've got the basic shape of our little box. The next part is to get your decoration. So I used these Ladybug Shaker Window thin cuts so I could create my little body, and I could create my little wings. And in this case, I have decorated my little wings with some glitter paper punched out. I'm pretty sure that's 1/2 inch. So I am going to put those on my cards. And when you're dealing with small papers, whether it's dots or small embellishments, I just prefer to put my glue all down in one place, and then I can just drop my pieces in as I go, and there's no need to do each one at a time. And then when you want to put this together, these two halves, this half has quite a large space on it, and that's because it wants that to be the bottom. So when you're putting your brads through that, make sure that that side is at the back, and then you've got your little body. And then I am a fan of giving little ladybugs antennas because I think it's so stinking cute. So I'm going to, I have some Waxy Flax. It's something we used to have, but you could use floss, or you could use embellishing thread, or even paper. My little antennae are pretty short, so I have an extra paper that I cut can press that down, and now he's all set. Now if I was going to do a shaker card, I would put it on the back of him. Well, no, that wouldn't make any sense. I would have to have another layer of a shaker card. That way there's a side protecting this and a side protecting this, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You would have just left this blank. But anyway, since we're not doing a shaker card, we just put some glue around his edges and maybe a little on his little head, because that's okay too. And then set it down over the hole. Press it down. That way, when you fill your little box with the treat, it will peek right through. So that is how you make a cute little bug box so you could give a prize to your friend. Thanks for coming to Robin's house, and I hope you have a great day. Happy crafting!